This is entry 22 of an Expedition Handheld. One more time. This is 22 of Expedition Handheld. I'm Adam Patrick Murray.
And I'm Russ Crandall. We'll be your guides on this journey of handheld gaming discovery. Let's do it over.
You get one, I get one, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. This is episode 22 of Expedition Handheld. I'm Adam Patrick Murray.
And I'm Russ Crandall. We'll be your guides on this journey of handheld gaming discovery.
Hang on. This is going to be a bumpy ride. Russ, we're back, and without asking each other, we both wore green shirts.
Yeah,
I guess we're a little
Green
color
Day.
coordinated.
It's not even like St. Patrick's or anything close to it, but oh well.
Yeah, no, maybe halfway. Maybe is it halfway?
Oh yeah,
St. Pat?
there we
No.
go. No, not
Yeah,
even close.
no, it's not actually. We're just not going to do that. But yeah, we're back. We have a show to talk about. You've been a busy man releasing videos.
I'm trying to. Yeah, I've got such a huge backlog. I mean, we talked about it last week too, but like I've got so many things to review, and I've been having to shift priorities. So like last week, we did deep dives on 2 devices I still haven't reviewed yet. So working on them, I still want to get them out, but you know, things like Steam Machine kind of took priority, and so I was like, screw it, I want to play with this because it's so fun. So
I really want to dig into that Steam Machine video, but this is a handheld podcast. You know, we can maybe hash it out later.
yeah.
But no, I do want to throw something out here before we get in to the show proper. We have I had an idea for a little bit of a scheduling change because so people know behind the scenes, we actually used to record on Thursdays.
Right.
And then also Dual Boot Diaries, the podcast I used to have with Will while we were learning Linux stuff, that has ended, but that used to release on Fridays because we would record that on Wednesdays. Now we record Expedition Handheld on Wednesdays, and we're still releasing on Saturday, which means like some of the stuff we talk about might be a little stale, a little old, or we've had to re-record a couple segments because the timing's been like, oh well,
True.
crap. When we talked about it, now there's more information, so we had to redo some spots. Even though I don't think anyone noticed that we actually re-recorded one of the segments from last week. Yeah,
Oh, wow,
I think
that's
it was a little
funny.
sneaky.
We're so good.
Yeah, so I had an idea I wanted to throw out there. I mean, we haven't talked about it too much, but also maybe just to the community of like, well, what if we moved to debuting this show on Fridays instead of Saturdays? I don't know how you feel about it, Russ.
Oh, I'm up for it. I rarely release videos on Fridays, so there's no conflict there, but I often will release on Saturdays. So that would be actually a little bit better for me, just in terms of like, you know, oversaturating everyone with too much Russ. I'm always worried about too much
No
Russ,
such thing as
know?
too much Russ. Come on. Don't even. Yeah, like, and my other thought too is like the reason why we started doing it on Saturday was because of like just scheduling stuff. But like I don't usually like the idea of a podcast on the weekends because I'm very much somebody who listens to podcasts during like work, either the commute or if I'm like, you know, mindlessly doing something and I have something on the background. So, you know, I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. Let's see if people are against it.
Let us know.
I
I'll put it in my
don't think we're going to
newsletter,
do it
too.
anytime soon just because of some other scheduling stuff. But I think, maybe we'll do it in the future.
Sure.
Also, I have something real exciting to show you, Russ, that came in the mail Tuesday. So you might have seen this if you watched the Full Nerd, but
I missed it.
I don't know if you know Epos Vox, Adam, the stream professor on YouTube. He taught me a lot about OBS and stuff like that. Really cool guy. He's got a lot of projects in the fire at all times, and he reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm making a new gaming magazine. Can I send you?" some issues and you check it out. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, that's totally up my alley. So it arrived. It's called Jam Packed. So Jam Packed without an E. So it's got an apostrophe instead of an E.
I heard the apostrophe. Definitely.
But it's so it's a quarterly magazine that he's doing with a couple of his buddies. And like the idea is very much, hey, what if we don't focus just on the newest cycles? We talk about whatever games we're playing, even if it's retro stuff. Also, there's no ads, there's no AI, there's no algorithms. You know, it's like on the top right here, you know, independent human-made gaming magazine. You know, so it's
I love it.
It's very much for people of his ilk. which is also my ilk too. So yeah, are you a big magazine guy, Russ?
I like to support magazines and then I never read them. Where I'm like, oh man,
really?
like, oh, whatever. Like Wired is super cheap, $10 for a whole year of magazines. Let's just support these guys and keep them in print, right? And then I get every month and I'm like, put it on the stack. I'll never get to them.
Well, I mean, but that's different too, because I guess I don't have any subscriptions like that. The subscription I have right now is the Video Game History Foundation, which sends me a new old magazine every month, and that's been so fun to just like sit down and read through. Except for when I get Nintendo Powers, I'm not a Nintendo Power person, so usually I thumb through that and I'm just like, whatever. But the other ones that come in, it's fun to just look at the past and be like, man, that's what people were saying at that time, 20 years ago about whatever.
Yeah.
And it's fun and yeah, like this, because this is, I mean, number one, this is somebody I know, so and he did send this to me. He didn't ask me to market this or anything. I'm just actually excited to talk about it. And like the vibe very much is like retro and like the actual layout and stuff like that. It's just like big and bright and bold. Like, so super cool, and it even like includes little leaflet printout things. Let me find one. Like it was almost like a little addendum. Like he's like, hey, I wanted to feature this game on the cover, but unfortunately the people got laid off, so I'm going to print the email and like talk about how sad that is. Yeah, and because they have no actual ads, there's a couple like old ads in here. Let me find one. There's one that like I saw and I was like, wait, this isn't. Well, this is a real ad, but this isn't a real ad for the magazine, and it's for the Monster Hunter Freedom 2 on the PSP. So he just like was like, what, I'm going to put an ad in here. It's not an actual ad, but
right.
Yeah. And then on the back
adds to the feeling.
Yeah, on the back it's almost like a Steam Deck ad, but it's not really. He's just talking about like, hey, what's playing
Fun
on
games.
your Steam Deck. Anyway, super cool stuff. I'm definitely excited to read through. I thumbed through and already found some games that I was just like, oh, cool. I had not heard about this game. This is interesting. So
yeah, I like the idea of like a human touch and curation, because it's so hard nowadays to be like, hey, what's a good game right now? Because who's going to answer, like some AI thing, or like you're going to get some reviews of people who hate a game for whatever reason. And yeah, I like this idea of someone kind of curating that for me.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. Go check. I don't even know what's the URL. I think it's like crap. I should have looked at this before. It's like jampacked dot something. I don't know. But yeah, just look it up. Jampacked with no e. It's an apostrophe. Okay, well I'm doing a horrible job at helping people find. Oh, here we go. Jampacked.quest. Oh, that's funny. I didn't realize the URL. Maybe is that a typo? But no, the URL, the Jampacked has an E. So okay.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Just search for Jampacked magazine. I'm sure you'll find it. Whatever.
Gotcha. Cool.
But yeah, super cool. I've been enjoying getting back into magazine stuff to the point where I've joked around about here. We're not going to do it. But I joked around like, man, wouldn't that be cool if PC World started printing something again? Like, we do technically still have a PC World magazine. It's a digital issue that comes out every month. But like, wouldn't that be funny if we started printing the digital issue?
Yeah.
Or if Russ started printing his weekly newsletter and mailing it to you like a little zine.
Oh man, what if I did a written review printed out and it's just like, oh, the buttons feel good,
yeah.
Like, I don't know if that would translate over at all, but that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, no, see, Russ, we're thinking, or maybe we get the transcript from the podcast, print it out and send it. Yeah.
I would hate to read that. Oh my gosh, all my flubs.
I don't know what the word count is for one of our podcasts. I should look that up. I'm curious kind of now. But anyway, the word count's going long because the intro is going long. So I think we should get to some news. And funny enough, the two news items that we have on deck are both like classic Nintendo consoles that, are just new emulation devices.
Good point.
Let's start with the RG SP. So the headline here reads, Anbernic reveals new slimlined RGSP Retro Handheld. There's a link down in the description to Brandon from Retro Dodo who wrote this up. But Russ, what are we looking at here?
So this is the third clamshell that Anbernic has made. And so the first one was the RG35XX SP, kind of a little bit chunkier than the GBA SP, with no sticks and a 4x3 screen. And then they released the 34XX SP. That one had a 3x2 screen, but it had this weird forehead to it, and it also had sticks for some reason. And it was smaller. It was the size of GBA SP. So this guy, the RGSP, is kind of like a... Whoops, sorry about that. Here's a update. And it's got the same 3x2 screen, but no weird forehead to it. And they took out those sticks because like people were like, why do we need sticks on a GBA, you know? And I get it. It's like, some people like the sticks. They're like, oh, like, you know, this is helpful with games like Minish Cap, you know, where you need to move around in a 3D environment kind of thing. But yeah. And so this is their new one. Full disclosure, I've already had my hands on this for a while. Not right here, but like in China, they let me play around with it. And so this was supposed to be like one of their upcoming devices. And yeah, it feels like a GBA SP. I think it's around the same size as the 34XX SP. I know that they said something about it being a little bit thinner, but I think they're just talking about the bezel, not the device itself. I'm not really sure.
No, they just, in this video, they just shaved off 10% from the back.
I saw that.
So.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe it is a little, I couldn't tell a difference. I was like, I held it and I was like, oh, this just feels good. I mean, smaller is always better, you know, as long as it doesn't overheat too much, you know. But yeah, just very, very much like leaning into like, okay, we teased something that was somewhat GBA-like, but we're just going to do it now. And so, like, you know, they even added that little pill in the top of the case that is exactly where that little Nintendo logo would usually go. Yeah, they're just leaning in hard. Those metallic colors, very, very GBA.
I mean, the weird thing is, though, like, I feel like the closer you get to actually emulating the old hardware, the more you risk upsetting... If anything's not in line, right?
Right.
Like if you're like, hey, this looks like a Game Boy Advance, you know, and it smells like a Game Boy Advance, but it doesn't really play like a Game Boy Advance. Oh, that's kind of weird. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, the thing with this one though is that I mean the chip is I mean they haven't said it, but the chip is going to be great for GBA. The screen is going to be the same one as the 34XX SP, which is a 3x integer scale of GBA. It's not a great. I mean, that screen's never been great for anything but GBA, if you ask me, just because it makes 4x3 content so small, you know. But it's great for GBA. And I think that single use case idea of just being like, listen, we love that system, you love that system, let's just have it again, you know. Like, I don't mind all of that stuff. And so I think people are going to be happy with it. The buttons themselves used to be really, like, hard to push down on the first version, the 35XX SP, but they have refined that. And so this one feels really good. Not at Nintendo levels yet. Like it's still a little bit stiffer, but not. I don't think anyone's gonna, you know, cry foul about it.
Yeah, well, and this is also kind of part of their new naming scheme, so that there's no numbers associated with the screen, anything like that. It's just RGSP. So yeah, what happens if they want to refine this one next?
Right, SP2 or something.
You know, SP2, the sequel.
I mean, this I'm just theorizing here, but I talked about, like, right when I got back from China, we had an episode, you know, and I talked about how, like, the CEO of Anbernic really didn't like how people were getting under his skin about the XX line of devices, about how they kept adding so many, right? And so I feel like they took that out on purpose for that reason. So they don't want to upset the boss.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, I love the colorways. No sticks is definitely the way to go on a device like this in my mind. The tactile buttons, like, you know, sure. I guess I'd have to see feeling them. And then I do really like the colors. Like, as somebody who has really mangled my shells of my SP, like, I'm like, dang, okay, well, this is pretty good. Except for, like, I wish the silver one popped a little bit more, because essentially, like, on the black, all the buttons are blacked out. On the colored ones, they're kind of silver, so they pop a little bit. But then on the silver, like, they match the body, and I almost wish, like, they would put the black on the silver. Whatever, I don't know. Cool. You know, maybe that's something easy.
Make it the penguin or something like that would be kind of cool looking. It's what I like about this, though. You think about a GBA and you're just like, all right, you know, if you buy a GBA today, you got to do all the modding, got to do all that kind of stuff to make sure that you can charge it correctly. This has got all of that. You know, it's got the It's got a headphone jack, which
I was just about to say it's got a headphone jack. That's all you need.
And it's got USB-C charging, a backlit display, and I think all of that's going to be great. Plus all the features of emulation, your save states and all that too.
Well, what do you think? Do you feel like this is going to be a good device that people should wait for, or no?
Yeah, I would say it's slightly unexciting to me, but also I think it's going to be solid. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking. And it's like, sure, we've been here before, but this is just a refinement. And so if you don't already have one, or maybe your other one's busted, or you're ready to move on, like this might be a good alternative.
I mean, funny enough, like I am kind of excited about this one, like just because like it is so close to the original hardware, which is why like if it misses the mark in some ways, like it's gonna feel even weirder for me. But I don't know, I'm in a weird spot with this stuff. Actually, last question: does it go to sleep when you close the lid?
Yeah, it does. It's got a magnet, and so it'll like sense that. And so you can just flip it close, and it'll go to sleep. And all the custom firmwares can take advantage of that too. And so you get a really nice like streamlined appearance, and then boop, and just close it up. One of my favorite. I mean, like the 3.5 XSP was like my favorite device 2 years ago. Like it beat out things like the Retroid Pocket 5. I was like, I actually like this thing better, just all around. And so it really is exciting. Personally, I would rather have a 4x3 screen. That's just me, because that's the systems I play. GBA is great, but this is a single use case kind of handheld for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's still not a ton of details, that are revealed. I guess there's more to see, especially even price. Do you have an idea on what you think they're going to be able to hit with this price wise?
They showed me the price yesterday. So it's coming soon. Like we're gonna see this in like the next 2 weeks, as far as like actually launching in the next 2 weeks. I can't remember the number, and I probably shouldn't say anyway, but it didn't strike me as like, oh, that's overpriced or that's a really great deal. It's just kind of what I was expecting.
Okay, well then let's go from the SP, which I think is the inferior version of the Game Boy Advance, to one I'm even more excited for, which is the Konkr Pocket Advance announcement. Now, unfortunately, like this one has no details around it other than pretty much a pretty render of the device. Like, yeah, I'm excited about this one once again because like this really does just look like a traditional Game Boy Advance. It's the wide layout, which is my preferred way. But Konkr is more of their entry level end of the thing.
It's their budget brand. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything you think that you can kind of infer from what this is going to be?
So, I mean, just looking at the render, I can see it's a 3x2 screen, so it's a little wider. So it's probably going to be a nice fit there. They've used 3x2 screens before, like on their, that micro one that they just sold out like super fast, like a couple weeks ago. Like that one is a 3x2 screen. So maybe something like that. It looks a little more rounded than the original GBA. And so I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, Android based, probably, I don't know how powerful it's going to be. But no sticks, obviously. So it's like you're kind of limited in that regard anyway. So
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Well, yeah. I mean,
it's a good
here's
color.
the thing. Like I was excited to bring it up in the show because like this kind of style is something I'm excited about. But also, as I was prepping, I was poking around on the Retro Handheld site, and Andrew had an article talking about handheld makers need to stop turning every new handheld into a month-long reveal. And I was just like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I actually really agree with that, because even though I'm excited about this, I'm like, well, I'm excited, but I have no details. And I know kind of based off of, previous announcements like this that I'm probably not going to get details for a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing it's I mean, all the companies do this to some extent. Anbernic will do like a little teaser trailer, and then they kind of trickle it out, but they're always kind of predictable. And it's like, okay, once you see the trailer, usually within a week, like orders are going to be up, maybe 2 weeks, depending on what they're working on. They have been kind of messing up that lately. Like they had announced like the G1, which is like their Switch Lite looking handheld, and then that just disappeared. Now we have the SP. So something must have been happening behind the scenes. And Retroid does this too, right? Like they just released that Pocket Nova, and they went from like on Monday teasing it to Friday you could order it. And so that's kind of, there was a hype cycle there, but the teasing came out pretty consistently. The thing with Neo though, these guys like who run Konkr, you know, they'll just, it's so haphazard, right? Like this one in particular, like this one, like the Pocket Advanced, like they showed off this render and they're like, oh yeah, and they've been talking like they've been using this like return to nostalgia or something, like they were using this phrasing, so it was just like a phrase on a piece of like a picture, and it said just this thing, and like, okay, what does that say about anything, you know? And then they'd be like, okay, here's this render, and then like, wait, tomorrow we'll reveal more, and it was like a shoulder button. It's like, come on, guys, like I don't need to wait a whole day to see a shoulder button, right? I really do appreciate like the Valve rollout where they're like, hey, here's all the stuff that we can tell you right now, right? Like Steam hardware. And then, yes, it's going to come later, but this is everything we can tell you now, you know? And that's the kind of thing I like to see, not the trickle.
Yeah, actually, as part of this article, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. He laid out this timeline. I don't know if this is like the official timeline from Konkr, but like
I think it's multiple devices. But
yeah, it's multiple devices. Yeah, but kind of laying out like what they've announced, when they've announced it, like a lot of these taglines. Yeah, shoulder button reveal. Like I don't know. I put the link down in the description, like so you know. Go check that out. But it's just like, yeah, some of these cycles, I don't know, like part of it, I get wanting to make hype for a new product. You've got a launch and a release and stuff like that. But also at the same time, yeah, it can be overkill, especially when there's so many damn devices.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I wake up every morning and it's like there's 4 different partial reveals. I'm like, okay, well, which one am I going to retweet today? Because I don't want to have to do this again tomorrow. And yeah, so I usually will just like, okay, like here's a teaser of something, and then I just wait. I'm like, I don't want to trickle everyone else too, and so I'll just like, I'll wait. Then when we have something solid, then I'll do another tweet or another social media post.
I mean, the only other thing I could think of is like, do you think these companies are trying to maybe test the waters, and like if they get some sort of feedback early on, they're like, wait, okay, now we have a chance to like pump the brakes. Because there are some of these handhelds that like have been teased and announced, and then have been like super quiet. Like what's that more vertical style one that the brick or no?
Yeah, the brick. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Konkr brick. That one up there, the AI handheld. Where they're like, the first AI handheld right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, they drip feeded, they did all this exciting reveal, and then like it's been quiet. So like I don't know.
Yeah,
they get bad feedback, and they're like, "Oh, we got to go back to the drawing board and re-release it again with a whole new series of of announcements."
No, I think this is really fair, and it's one of those things where I think Retroid is one of those where they will kind of put out something, and then based on feedback, they make a change. Like with the Retroid Pocket 6, where they had those buttons underneath, right? And then they unfortunately listened to the masses who were like, we don't want those buttons. And then they took them out and made it just a generic looking handheld. But those are like them turning on a dime, you know, like the ability to have D-pad or analog stick up top was not something they had planned, right? That's something that came out and they're like, all right, well, let's do a poll. Would people prefer this? All right, let's offer both, you know? So I get that. That's very nice and practical, you know? But yeah, this whole like we've got all of the cards and we're just going to give you one at a time for just a mid handheld. Like to me, that's too much. Like once a year, like a company, I feel like hype years is up, right? But every month and then multiple happening at the same time, and we're all in like different stages at different points. Yeah, it's really confusing, even for me as a guy who's like reading about this all day.
Yeah, and also, I mean, to a certain point too, like this is kind of the reason why I don't really follow leak culture much either. It's like, hey, let's talk about it when it's ready and there's something out, something in the hand to actually try out, because like we can sit here and, you know, talk about it forever, but unless it's in the hand, we don't know.
I've definitely felt that with so I'm on that other the Nerdnest podcast, and you've been on there too, but like we often will just speculate off of just something, right? And it's such a fun exercise to do that, but then I start to like hope that it's going to happen, right? And then it doesn't, and then I'm like, I'm all disappointed now for something I made up in my head, right? Yeah, just give me the straight stuff.
I mean, listen, that happens. I mean, I remember like after the Matrix, after I saw the Matrix, and I was so excited, it was
Mm-hmm.
like such a definitive movie for me that
Mm-hmm.
I was theory crafting what could a Matrix 2 be like, and just like really hyping it up in my head and being like, oh wow, the
Yeah.
possibilities are endless, and and
Right.
then the next movies come out, and they're not bad movies, but like they were never gonna match the height of what I had built out in my head
Right.
for years, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's
So
like
like
the. Yeah, I get that.
as
It's
I've
the
got
Star Wars prequels is like that for me. I'm like,
oh yeah, right.
like I just wondered as a child, like, how did Darth Vader come to be, right? I can't wait to see that someday.
And then you're like, oh, that's how
Yeah.
it happened.
Oh
Oh, okay.
man.
Yeah. So anyway, we're getting off topic here. But Russ,
Right.
there is one more piece of news that I didn't put on the docket here because I
Uh-oh.
didn't want to shock you.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
genuinely surprised.
it is something very exciting that a friend of the show over on our Discord, Cause MC, linked to me in our Handhelds channel.
Mm.
He was showing off something that is a device that I really need to get my hands on, but I'm gonna have to have a 3D printer to do it. It is the Steam Deck Sniffer by by a guy named Bits Primus, and yeah, it's up on Maker World, so like you can actually print it yourself, but it's this like it's like
It's like
this
a
face.
tunnel or something, right?
Yeah, it's like this face mask kind of thing that goes over your mouth and your nose, and then like tunnels
Oh,
straight to the vent of the Steam Deck and like attaches to it. I mean,
that's not how I envisioned it. I saw this as being a chamber that went up, and then there's like this bulbous thing, and then it comes to a point, and then you stick your nostril on it and then sniff up.
so you
I
just
thought it was like a
inject it
direct
straight in.
line. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Listen, he put it up on Maker World. You can probably
Yeah.
modify your own if you want.
There's room
But
for
yeah.
version 2.
I don't know anything about 3D printing. I don't know how easy this is. I mean, but yeah,
That's hilarious.
the description is pretty funny too. You've all seen the AI image. Now it's real. Introducing the Steam Deck Sniffer. I don't know if you saw that AI image.
No.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then the last line is, I genuinely don't know why you'd want this, and I'm pretty sure it's not great for your health, but dude, Steam Deck fumes.
Oh, that's
And
hilarious.
I feel like we haven't really talked about this enough on this podcast because
I feel like we have. Just
about
kidding.
sniffing handhelds.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I mean, you've said before that it's like you use it as a diagnostic, right? If something is wrong or burning, then it helps you. But I've also seen you sniff way more than just diagnostics.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I have brought this up in actual legit use, like I said, for diagnostics. You're right, but I mean, I'm just somebody who sniffs my electronics all the time, to the point where I was doing it in my videos, and people like kept being like if I didn't show it in one of my videos, people were like, oh, why didn't you sniff it? And I was like, oh no, I'm becoming like the sniffing guy. But
Oh,
it
it's
is true.
hilarious.
Like every piece of electronics, not just handhelds. Like I do like to smell. Like
Yeah.
something about the tactile experience of just like getting it out and having that.
Yeah.
It's not really a test. It's more like it's almost kind of like what I imagine a dog going up to another dog and sniffing its butt. It's like it's kind of a greeting, but it's also kind of a little bit of like trying to understand what it is. So I'm like, ooh, new handheld. I'm okay. Well,
sniff
that's
its
what you are.
butthole.
Yeah. Actually,
I will say, I mean, in fairness, though, the Steam Deck has a distinct smell. I know people talked about it and stuff,
they
but
all
like
do.
you could
Yeah.
turn that thing on with my eyes closed, and I could tell you just turned on a Steam Deck. Like I can smell that. I've never really smelled any others, other than like when you open up an Anbernic box and it smells like their factory. Like that's it. That's like kind of the furthest I've been.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely some devices. I'm trying to think. I opened up one recently at the office. Oh, now I don't remember what it was. It wasn't a handheld. It was some sort of laptop or PC component or something like that. And I was just like, oh, wow, that is a strong scent. Or, what the heck is
Right.
going on over there? And it wasn't intentional. But anyway, I need to go sniff some more stuff. So let's just take a break, step back for a minute, and come back with what's in our pocket. Russ, I got to tell you what, I almost grabbed my Jenkos because I feel like right now I continue to have way too many things in my pocket than we have time for on a podcast.
Yeah, story of my life.
like I hooked up with my dealer recently, Russ, aka Steve Lynn, who's been on the show, friend of the show, and we worked out a deal for some new hardware, a Dreamcast and a GameCube, which I'm very excited because I wanted to get those again. But we're a handheld podcast here, so there was 2 other handhelds. One of them is the Game Gear. This is an unmodded Game Gear with a copy of Joe Montana Football. It's the only game for it I have right now. So I kind of want to put that on a little bit of a shelf and come back to it.
Yeah.
Because there's something else that's very exciting that I want to talk about. But you know what? Getting ahead of myself, Russ, we should talk about the exciting new thing of the week, which is the Retroid Pocket Nova. Right? Oh, you've got it in your hand. You got the cool glacier blue colorway, ice blue,
which is kind of greenish, but actually in this light it looks a little more blue.
True.
But,
once again, like I watched your video this morning, and I feel like the colorway got a little bit diminished with those buttons. You talked about how you feel like the buttons are maybe a little harsh, and the other versions might have softer buttons on it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same thing for the colorway as well. Like I would want to swip out those buttons for not only what you said with the feel, but probably the color. I feel like it doesn't really match.
Yeah, the plastic on these like crystal buttons, these see-through buttons, are a little hard. You know, like it's a harder plastic than a typical button, which feels good. I mean, it's not a bad thing. Like the PS Vita had this exact same thing, you know, but I do suspect that, the other ones are going to be a bit softer and matte feeling, you know, just a softer plastic, just slightly. I mean, we're talking like I'm splitting hairs when I talk about that stuff. And I've already seen on Discord, people are like, oh, I'm going to try to return mine and stuff. I'm like, do not do that, dude. Like, I'm literally just telling you the texture. Right. Oh. They're like, oh, it's so sharp. I'm like, it's not so sharp. I said that you can barely feel it. Anyway, but I did, as soon as I finished the video, I messaged Retroid and I was like, can you please send me some black buttons? Because I think that would be a really good fit with this guy, right? Because it's already got black analog sticks, it's got black shoulder and triggers. So it's like, just put black here too. I think that it's going to make it a darker device in general, but I kind of don't mind that, you know? And so, yeah, I'm probably going to do a swap and put in black buttons for this guy in particular.
Yeah, well, like I said, I watched your video, great video, link down in the description. Thanks. We don't need to get into all this stuff, but like in the months or weeks, whatever, leading up to this, I feel like you've been kind of talking about how this, like, oh man, this is the one. I'm so excited. It's got the OLED screen. It's 4:3. Like it has all the stuff I'm so excited for, and the excitement kind of came through in the video. And I was questioning. I was like, wait, is this the most I'm ever going to see Russ excited? Because I know he's really excited for this handheld, and like you barely had any like negatives to say about it. Like for the most part, you
really
love it.
Nitpicking.
But so is this the most ceiling that we're ever going to see with Russ excitement?
You know, I honestly held back a lot, like in my excitement, because I was like, because what if I'm wrong? Like, you know, like what if I'm just like, I'm a hype man. Like, I don't want to be a hype man and be like, oh, this is the next big thing, right? But it does feel like that, you know, more so than other handhelds. And I think I was pretty clear in the intro too, where I was like, I haven't been this excited for a 4:3 handheld ever, maybe, you know. And I think that's true, but I'm also like tempering my expectations, because what happens if they make a Nova 2? Like, what am I going to do at that point? And then like, oh, they fixed the buttons or something. And it's like, I love this one even more. And then all of a sudden I'm doing it every year. And so I did kind of pull my punches a little bit, because I feel like a month from now, I'll be a lot more definitive about it. And so that's kind of where I am with it. Yeah. Initial hype, you know, very much initially excited. And again, that was like 6 hours into it, you know, of having the thing in my hands. And so then a week later, I'll have a better idea, a better perspective, probably more issues. Like, for example, this is like insider info. I didn't really notice it just because I'm like doing testing and doing all this stuff, right? But then I set it to the lowest fan profile and then had games downloading while I was editing. And so I was like working on game native stuff, you know, and that fan, like I can hear in a quiet room with the fan on low, I can hear the whine, and it's annoying. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh crap, like playing it in bed would be super annoying. Like you're playing in like a quiet environment, you know.
Even on the lowest profile, is there a way to turn it off and just do passive at all?
There is a way to turn it off, and then it gets a little warm. Like even if you're just barely using it, it gets a little bit warm because it's so thin, And
of course.
so these are the kind of things that'll be in my review, but like just didn't get it into the impressions video. So that's one of those reasons too, where it's like I kind of got to temper it. I'm excited and I'm hyped, but also like it is a new car smell too.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, it made me think like for me, I should probably take a page out of that book as well, because like I'm somebody who very much will show my excitement on my sleeve, like maybe a little too easily, especially when I'm at a trade show and I'm like checking stuff out and it's like, whoa, cool, this is the first time, like, man, I'm so excited for this. What could this be? What is this? Let's find a journey together kind of thing.
And I think that's so valid too. But the part is that the internet remembers, right? And so that's the thing I've learned over the last 6 years is like that excitement is true in the moment, but the context 5 years from now might be a little bit different. Not that that takes away from that excitement at the time, but it's just one of those things where I feel like, and it's me as like a reviewer, where it's like I always try to do that objective thing, even though no one can be that. I do try to kind of temper that too, and so. It's weird, like hard, I want to be excited about a thing. Like it literally delivered on all the things I wanted. You know what I mean? Like that's a true statement right there, but at the same time, there are some annoying things, and whether or not that takes away from the other stuff is something that takes time to figure out, but for now, I'm like, I mean, I barely got any sleep last night because I was like, I just want to play with this thing. And that's not a thing that happens to a guy that has 300 handhelds very often. So.
Well, obviously you're gonna have a review later. I'm sure you're probably gonna have countless follow-ups as well. And I definitely want to talk about it, here on the podcast, even if you don't do certain things in a standalone video kind of thing. But I think my biggest question coming out of it that I didn't feel like was really answered. I mean, you went real in depth on everything in the typical Russ style, but like the reason why this exists is because of the lack of a native 4x3 OLED display, right? Yeah. And so I guess I would love to hear more of the actual display itself. And do you think this is worth it? Like in terms of like having to get a mortgage or whatever the CEO said he had to do, is this like the end game kind of thing? Like, should people have been chasing this? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I think I'm still learning a bit about just kind of how interesting and new this is, like one of the things that just it's really hard to kind of capture this when I'm working on a review as I'm like learning about the thing, but like I did a section about PWM flickering, right? And I like went and I did the whole like high speed camera thing and then like moved the slider so I could see the bars for the PWM, and I just kind of wanted to verify that yes, it's doing that and how drastic it is, and it wasn't bad, but one of the things that my brain just didn't click on was that the PWM flickering was happening top to bottom, and most every other handheld would go left to right or right to left, and I noticed it, but I didn't like note it, right? And didn't understand. But now I'm thinking about it, and it's because it's a native landscape screen. So the other ones are all like, old cell phone screens, right? Which are meant to be held portrait. And so they flip them over in the software to get them to work. But that includes, that causes a bit of input delay because there's a processing time to do that, right? And it's just a tiny little millisecond, right? But this doesn't have that. And that's why those input delays were so much better than even a device that also has a 120 hertz screen. And so that's one of those things I wish I could have put in there, because that does make this screen in particular stand out from the others, because we don't have retro handhelds that have native portrait like that until you get to things like the Legion Go 2 has one, or some GBD ones have it, but there's nothing like this that has it. And so yes, I do think that as time marches on, we'll probably understand it a little bit better. There's all sorts of discussion and churn on Reddit right now about like, pentile subpixels versus like non-pentile ones when it comes to OLED displays. And every one of these things has pentile, which can cause some issues with shaders compared to an LCD. So that's like another deep dive I've got to do too. I got to learn a lot in order to really capture that too. So that's the thing I have to do in the next week. But so I think the jury's still out whether or not it's like the screen. The resolution for me personally isn't perfect, and I mentioned that too, but kind of impossible with the vendor that they have for their screens at this point anyway. So I think there's room for improvement already, at least in what I'm seeing, just in terms of scaling. But yeah, I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful display, and that's a really important factor for a lot of people. Like putting on a CRT shader, playing this thing with OLED and 120 hertz and run ahead, and and having it at a low power profile and doing all that stuff and playing Sega Saturn games with the Beetle core. Like it's like a combination of all these things that at one point a couple of these things were possible per handheld, but this is the first that has it all together, which is kind of cool.
And like, I guess it didn't really hit home for me until you started doing size comparisons, and you compared it to it was one of the Retroid Pockets. It wasn't the one that you had marked wrong, the classic. It was the 6, maybe, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh wow, like this thing does just kind of look like a Retroid Pocket, just with like less.
Yeah, it really is just kind of smashed together.
Together, and I feel like the question I would be having if I was somebody out there is like, hey, would I mean, I guess it's something we talk about all the time. Are you trying to get one of these to be the everything handheld? Because if that's the case, then you could just get one of the widescreen ones and play it in 4:3. Like I think you noted it was almost like the exact same size, if it was chopped off kind of thing.
Yep.
But then you have the ability to also play the widescreen kind of stuff. Like any thoughts on that? Do you think like oh, you know what, this is more limiting because it is 4:3.
Yeah, so I purposefully didn't do any sort of like judgments in this impressions video. I was like, I'll save that for the review to be like, hey, this one's better than this. This is the one I would recommend. This is their use case. I'll probably do that whole spiel in the next one. But, in thinking about it last night, I was like, well, if this handheld, the RP Nova, is for those enthusiasts, those who've been waiting for this like perfect retro little handheld, right? And there's a lot of people out there who have been doing that. And I think that for everybody else who's just getting into it or whatever, it's the Retroid Pocket 6 that I would recommend, right? Because it's like you don't have to worry about all that kind of stuff. You're probably not even going to notice those black borders on the left and right when you're playing these games. You might even stretch them to 16:9 like a madman. Who knows? But the whole point is like that's the all-arounder, right? This is not the all-arounder. It's the all-arounder 4:3, but it's not the all-arounder. Like I wouldn't want to play Switch games on this. Man, I've been like for the past day, I've been just playing Game Native. I'm like, all right, which PC games are going to play in 4:3? And the answer is hardly any of them. Like it's real bad. And thankfully, there's a Steam Steam curator. People like make these like community lists, right? There is one. It's called Does It 4:3? And,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's just a listing of games. It's not like. It kind of assumes that you already know that old games are going to be in 4:3. Like if you want to play an old game, King's Quest or whatever, you're good, right? We're talking about like more recently released games. Skyrim. Does Skyrim play a 4:3? And it does. But many others do not. And so looking through that list, and if you're signed into your Steam account, it'll show you which ones are in your library, right? Unfortunately, you can't just like toggle only the ones in my library. I'd love to see that. But at the same time, there's about 500 games on the list, and there's like 6 where I was like, all right, I'd play that. It's not a PC gaming handheld, right? It's a 4:3 like retro classic handheld.
Yeah. I mean, the other thought I had too, and it's hard without actually putting your hands on it, so that's why I want to ask is, we've talked about this before, but I usually don't like the ones that are more compact. So like maybe that's another reason why, maybe you would want to go for a Retroid Pocket, because it is wider, and sure, you're going to have the black bars, but you're also not going to be, having your fingers touch closer on the back. Do you feel like it's cramped back there? It's hard. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, it's so it's like this, right? So it's like I've got like that much showing where it's my fingertips are kind of touching themselves, right? Or that, and that's not a bad thing for me. I got over that pretty quick. But it still, I feel like an RP6 is going to be roomier, especially if you've got bigger hands. I don't know. I keep wanting to find faults in it because it is so good, right? But it is very, very good. Like it's feeling really great. I love that they went with the flat back. There was a lot of discussion about the rounded parts, and I'm not taking any credit for it, but when I went there, they had the rounded back on there, and I was like, have you thought about flat back? And so,
hey,
I'm not taking credit.
This? Yeah.
Right. It is one of those where I think it's a really awesome move because it just gives you so much versatility in moving your hands around. And then they went that extra mile and were like, we'll also provide the rounded back too. So think that's awesome.
Do you think they overshot in terms of processor, like because it is 4x3 and like that limits your experiences to 4x3 systems? I mean, I don't know. I guess
I don't think it is.
No, okay, because I mean the inverse is yes. It's not like you can't play 16:9 content on this. Obviously, it's going to be smaller that way.
Right.
So like
And
I don't know.
You can use you could dock it and put it onto a monitor if you wanted to play on a TV.
Come on, how many people actually do that?
I don't know.
Come on, Russ.
I don't, but I don't know. And then, I personally, I'm like, if you're gonna go big, just do it. Like, just be overkill. Sure, it's gonna cost us an additional $20-$30 or whatever, like on that price point. Man, like I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it. I don't even have to go into the settings. I just set OpenGL, which is the more demanding of the two, graphical backends on an Android. OpenGL 2x, 3x resolution, and just play everything. Who cares? You know what I mean? And that's a lot of fun. And there's other benefits to it too. Like you can play it at a lower power profile, so you're saving battery life as well. So yeah.
Well, except for you did mention the noise from the fan. With a less processor, less powerful processor in there, probably less heat, less fan noise.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a trade-off always.
Right. And that's why it's hard with these ones that like are, or maybe here's a better way to say this. That's why I'm kind of drawn to the ones like the Konkr Pocket Advance and stuff where it's just like, hey, you know what? Can we nail this one thing? Yes, you can do other stuff with it, but like I'm more interested in those nowadays than actual like all-arounder kind of stuff. But who knows? Maybe that's just because of I'm a reviewer and I'm not paying for these things, and maybe it might be better to have an all-arounder if if it was my money. So
I think that both camps are fair. You know what I mean? I think it's all really about perspective. I'm an all-arounder kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like the problem with me is I got so many all-arounders. It's like I ended up just making them like, all right, this is my PSP machine, and then I kind of move on. And so, but yeah, I think that this is definitely a more all-arounder. But again, with its own limitations because of that screen, which enhance it in other ways too.
I gotta say, I did not expect you to throw that dual screen thing on. I know I had asked you on Discord. I was like, hey, do you know anything about this kind of thing? And you noted like, oh yeah, it's kind of bulky, it's kind of unsightly. But I was like, no, that's actually really cool. Like, but is that top screen then? Is that also OLED or no?
Yeah, it's OLED. That's the same screen as the Retroid Pocket 5. So it's 60 hertz, but it is OLED 1080p, 5.5 inches. So it's a nice
Could you notice
fit.
a difference?
In terms of the latency
like
or
the quality? Yeah, latency, quality,
they
60 hertz
great.
versus 120. Yeah.
They looked great, but I think the timings, I don't know how they have it set up with the software, but I'm assuming it just forces both to be 60, is probably what happens when you plug that in. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it looks really good when you have it all set up and you have it like when you see my hands and I'm playing Mario Kart, you're like, wow, that's awesome, right? But you don't see the fact that I find it uncomfortable and top heavy and unwieldy and just weird. You know what I mean? And so, like, I have such a hard time conveying just how much I dislike that thing, especially because of like something like the Thor existing. You know what I mean? Where it's like, because the proof is in the pudding because I got that thing, I reviewed it initially and it was like, it had really bad input delay. And I was like, this is terrible, unacceptable, right? Then they fixed it and it had its own series of jank to get that there, but it was at least acceptable at that point. And then I was like, all right, I'll do a review at some point. And then I got the Thor and I never made a review, and it's like, I don't usually make promises like that and then like consciously just give up on them. But that was one of those where I was like, actually, I don't want to give this thing any more exposure because it fills a niche. And I think if somebody wants to keep, like they only are going to have the Retroid Pocket Nova, but they also want to have that dual screen setup and they're willing to live with the jank, sure. But I have a hard time promoting that thing. I just, not even promoting it, just even giving it any exposure.
Well, I mean, because if we're talking about an all-arounder device though, like then it's like that this does become more viable. Like, so. I guess I just didn't expect you to have that section in the in the video, and I was just
I got
like,
a lot of questions.
I
honestly got a lot of questions because there were a lot of people who do own one. It was a really hot selling item for a minute before the Thor and the Pocket DS were announced. They were because that was like, all right, they're going to solve two screen gaming finally, right? And then AYN was like, actually, and they pull it out of their pocket and they're like, fully solved, you know? And so, so I think that's kind of where it's at, you know? It's not a thing I can recommend, you know, but I did, you know, in addition to asking them to send me black buttons, I said, can you send me the new cable? Because they've got a shorter cable that's supposed to work a lot better. So I said, send me the new cable too, and I'll give it the college try. No promises, you know, kind of thing. So we'll see.
Well, you say it's like top heavy. Like how top heavy is it? I know it's hard to describe, but
Yeah.
like, you know, are we talking like, wow, this thing is like straining your wrists?
Yeah, I'm going to put it back in the review too. I'm going to do a little bit more talking about it because I got additional questions about it. It is heavy. Like it doubles the weight of this thing easily, right?
Wow.
And
Okay.
way heavier than something like the Thor too, because of all that plastic clamp and all that stuff on the back. You know what I mean? That adds a lot of weight. And so top heavy may not be the right word. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall over, right? But it just like I mean, you've probably done this before where you get a little clip and for your phone, and then you put it on top of a controller, and then you're playing like Jenga, basically, you know, like the feeling of that. It's reminiscent of that. And for me, it's just it's not only unpleasant, it's like, oh, I don't want to say abhorrent, but it kind of is. You know, I'm just like, this isn't a way to play games. Is kind of the way I feel about it. It works, you know, but today in the context of the Thor, and I'm really trashing this, I feel bad, but
Yeah, actually, I know. I'm just like, dang, I was excited.
In the context of the Thor, it's just like it just became meaningless in that way. I think it has its own purpose, right? But I don't know. It's the same thing like those controllers that you put on a phone, where it's like it has a purpose. It will get you through in a pinch, but do you really want to live that life? And that's kind of like where I'm at.
That's funny. I know we've talked about this before, but I totally forgot. Do you feel like they're missing out on having the option for the less stick to be on top? I know that wouldn't really make sense for the 4x3 stuff, but like there are people out there who do appreciate the left stick on top. So
Yeah.
do you think that's kind of a bummer?
You know, I initially I was like, no, like I don't need it at all, right? Because this thing is 4x3, it's made for retro gaming and stuff. But I didn't put it in the review, and it's just because it needs more time. But I did have the thought as I was playing Ratchet and Clank, and I was like, I wish this thumbstick was above. You know what I mean? I really, at that moment I was, right? I don't know how often I'm going to be playing Ratchet and Clank, even though it was like, wow, this is the best it's ever looked on a small handheld, you know? I will say that people have already been sending me 3D printed grips for this thing.
Whoa.
So because they, you know, Retroid put out the specs of it, like the actual dimensions and everything, and people are like, all right, hold my beer. And so
There you go.
Robbie over at Comfort Grips, he sent me over some, and sure enough, they fit nicely, you know. So this is an option, you know, and so this makes it like, I don't need the stick up top anymore, you know. It's much bigger, much more unwieldy, you know. But this will also go in the review too. It's like, hey, there are solutions out there if you want to play those games. The way I see it, I would much rather have something like this that I can pop on when I need it for the rare use cases where it's going to need it on top. And then I can pull it off for everything else. And so that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. And so, yeah.
Well, I didn't get a chance to dig into your comments on your first impressions video. Like, what was the vibes down there? Is everyone like, oh hell yeah, now we're excited?
Yeah, there was a good comment. I think I may have liked it. You know, it said something like, oh, I'm so super happy that Russ is justifying the purchase I already made. You know, like that's like the
Isn't that
thing
that's the internet,
saying.
man?
I know. I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, it's one of those where it seems positive. People are happy about it. A lot of questions in there. A lot of corrections about the fact that I accidentally said Retroid Pocket Classic instead of Retroid Pocket 2S.
I mean, you pinned a comment at the top.
I know, but I really messed that one up.
Like, wow, Russ doesn't know his stuff.
Yeah,
How
I
could
did the graphic that said Retroid Pocket Classic, then I said it too. It was bad. And it's because I think of that as like the classic Retroid. And so it's like my dumb fault. And but anyway.
Whatever. Like, dude, there's so many models out there to remember. And
yeah. But anyway, yeah, like mostly positive comments, you know, just people pretty excited about the thing. It's day one. And so day one comments are always a little bit kind of like I really like to see after a week, you know, people coming back with a comment or just someone who's kind of just now seeing it. I like seeing that later context. So we'll see how it goes.
And when does the thing actually go on sale?
It's up for pre-order, but it starts shipping. I think they're saying the 30th of July is when it's going to start shipping. So
and I'm sorry, remind me again, how does Retroid do their pre-orders? Do they get all of the pre-orders and then and then batch it, or do they have a set number of pre-orders?
So usually they just take every order. It never sells out. They just take it all, and then you just wait your time. And then they have like on their website they got a delivery dashboard. So it'll be like, okay, orders this through this. This is what we're working on this week, kind of thing. They've been doing the batch thing for the Retroid Pocket 6 because of demand, and so they probably will do this with the Nova as well once they've got that initial pre-order locked in. It is worth noting, if you get that pre-order first, like before the 30th, then it comes with a screen protector and then that additional back bump case, which I think is only $5 anyway. So that's like free with all pre-orders. After that, I think you have to order it yourself if you want to try out that additional like ergonomic grip back.
Wait, so the back bump case, the bumped back shell is different than the Retroid official grip for Nova?
Yeah, so the official grip is like one of these guys. You slide it in. The bumped back means you got to take out 4 screws and then you put it on here on the back.
Oh,
so
it's an actual new back.
Yeah. So it's like so it's more like the Retroid Pocket 5 or the 6 of the Mini, where it has its own ergonomic bumps. And that's what I mentioned when I was in China. They had those ergonomic bumps on the back, and I was like, if you're going to do a return to form and actually put plastic on the front and make it feel like the old school ones that you guys used to release, go all the way and make it flat on the back too, like the Retroid Pocket 3 and the 4, And so, thankfully they went that route because I think it's the better move personally.
Yeah. The interesting thing for me is like I feel like before we started this podcast, before I really knew you that well, like the Retroid Pockets have always just been my go-to. Like the ones that I've been like, okay, I'm gonna get every new version. I even got like the little spec bump upgrades. What was it, the 2 Plus and stuff like that. Like it was just always the one that I had on hand because like I feel like that was the good. I don't want to say default. That makes it sound like diminutive.
It's kind of like the good like standard. You know what I mean? Like it was a good base.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong, right? Like an all arounder. Like I think sells it short too because it's not just about the ability, but like the quality has seemed to always like keep up. Like everything just always feels premium without feeling like too premium of a price kind of thing. And now you definitely, I don't know. We've talked about this enough that I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'm kind of sold on this one too.
Yeah, it's a totally different, like, I love the Retroid products for what they provide, and I feel like they're the easiest to recommend to just anybody, but my Odin 3 is still going to be like my evening time, like playing, if I'm going to be playing something that's widescreen, obviously. So yeah, it's I'm really split between those two right now, but I do think that just all the other 4x3s that I have right now, all the Anbernics and stuff, and this one's kind of it.
Is there a bigger? I know obviously this one's OLED, so whatever. Like it's if you're looking for OLED, this is the only one. What's the other bigger 4x3 displays? This is 4.5 inch.
Yeah, the 4.7 inch from Anbernic. So that's in the 477M, which is that metal one, and the 476H, which is a more plastic one with a glass front. And then you remember the slide one that would pop up? And you could slide it up like an old T-Mobile Sidekick.
Oh, I don't remember that.
That one has a 4.7 screen. It's a monster. Okay. And then there's a vertical one too. So you've got this like thing that's like 2 Game Boys. Like it's huge, right? But it's got a 4.7 screen on it. So they've used that one several times. 120 hertz, same resolution, 1280 by 960, but LCD. And so that one's, if you're just going for LCD and you also want size, that's the one to get, for at least for now.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, you have no idea, but like, where do you think they could go with this screen? Do you think they could get smaller? Do you think we'll see a 4x3 OLED at like 3-inch kind of range? Or do you think it's like, ooh, that for that pricing, it's just never going to make sense?
Yeah, it really comes down to power. I think that once you get into PS2 and GameCube capable, then like 4.2 inches is kind of the minimum for me because it's like the text gets harder to read. You know what I mean? So I don't want it to go too small and powerful. Like that to me is a little bit too much. 4.2 is like, that's good enough, I think that the only thing that can go like further with this screen is that resolution. If they either get a different vendor that allows them to push in 1920 by 1440, or they go to a bigger size that allows for that many pixels to go in. Like that's the only, because that is the perfect resolution. When you're talking about scaling everything, the PPI, and then also just the ability to scale perfectly for all the other ones. I mean, it's like integer scaled for almost every system. And that was part of my like perfect handheld, dream handheld video. That's like the next frontier, and I don't know when we're gonna get there. And that's really me being picky too. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, this is, it's only a 4.3 scale, not a 6x integer scale. You know what I mean? Like it's like, I gotta temper my expectations too. It's just, it's still amazing, but just not perfect.
I was thinking more along the lines of they made this huge investment to make this 4x3 OLED. Like they're probably going to want to try to use this at as many places as they can to get return on that investment. Like where else do you think this is going to show up?
I think it's going to be in a dual screen device. You know what I mean? Because it's a 4x3, which is both DS and the bottom screen of the 3DS. So that's what I'm thinking. So.
Okay, all right. Yeah. And anything else you want to touch on right now? Where you're in your journey?
Yeah. I feel like people who watch this episode are going to be like, oh, these are such cool insights that I didn't put in my video that I'm not going to talk about anywhere else until I get to my review. So everyone's going to get a week's heads up on some of these other inside reviews that I've gotten over the past, 6 hours I've been up or whatever.
Well, hey, that's why you subscribe to Expedition Handheld, right? For the inside baseball. Last question, because you didn't talk about it in the video, and if we're given exclusive information, Russ, what does it smell like?
I knew you were going to ask that. I have it on the low fan right now. I can't smell anything. It's fine. It doesn't smell like anything. Even opening it up in the box, like it used to have a factory smell. It didn't have a factory smell. Kind of disappointing. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, what does have a smell? Is another handheld that I got in that is new, which I briefly want to touch on. So, the fine folks over at Blaze Entertainment, I think is the full name, sent over the Hyper Mega Tech Rare Edition. Now, Blaze is kind of in charge of Evercade and Hyper Mega Tech, right? Is that kind of the way to say that? They own both kind of things. Have you used any of the Hyper Mega Tech handhelds?
I have their Capcom one from a couple years back. It's still in the box. I took it out and I was like, this is cool. I can't wait to make a video about it. Whoop, back in the box, and then other things happened. So yeah. Yeah,
I haven't checked out any of this stuff, and I know this is separate from Evercade, but I went into my storage to grab the old Evercade that I never had the follow up, what was it, the EXPR or something like that. I can't remember the name.
That's the one I have. Yeah.
Yeah, but so this is the original that launched in 2020. I had reviewed it at the time, and they are very similar. And I don't mean just colorway, but it's everything from the styling to the way they have the rounded corners and the plastic feel is actually very similar, which makes sense because it's the same company. But so I got this in. This is the rare edition, so it comes preloaded with a bunch of rare games. I'm not going to list all of them, but Banjo-Kazooie, yada yada kind of thing. And it is officially licensed. That's a big deal, that Evercade and Blaze Entertainment does. And so they reached out. We have been talking about the new Evercade, which now the name escapes me. Do you remember the name of the upcoming one?
Nexus.
Nexus, yes, thank you. And he's like, oh, hey, can I send you over one of these too? And I was like, yeah, sure, but, I'll check it out. So I just picked it up yesterday, so I haven't had a ton of time with it, but a couple things have stood out in my time messing around with it. And the first one is I thought these were pretty much self-contained devices. This is the rare one. They have the Capcom one you mentioned, Atari, all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was oh, okay, cool. You get the preloaded games, and that's the experience. You have it on your device that's on the go, where the normal full Evercade is, oh no, you swap out the carts and you get to, have a bigger device kind of thing. And then lo and behold, I turned it around on the back and I was like, oh, wait, that's a cartridge slot. I did not realize that it also takes the Evercade carts. So, I don't know. I guess it just
honestly, it's probably one of the coolest things about it. You know what I mean? Where it's you kind of, that's a really fun discovery, right? Because I've got I don't know, probably 10 cartridges altogether, and some are good, some are not so good. And it's cool to just have, I mean, that's the whole thing about their ecosystem. And I love that they're still going. Like I was worried that they were going to like have one device and then just kind of peter out, but no, they keep going with this stuff. And some of those cartridges have been getting really good. Some of them are like exclusive, so they're gone, like you can't get them anymore, But yeah, really impressive that they keep going with this.
Yeah, so as a part of this, he did send over some new carts. Like I have the original, I think 12 or 13 from the review at the beginning. And yeah, he sent over some other ones.
Neo Geo.
Some recent ones. So Neo Geo Arcade 4, Taito Arcade 3. Funny enough, also the Rare Collection, so I can plug the Rare Collection cart into the Rare
That's
thing.
awesome.
But yeah, no, I mean, like having not used one of these Evercade devices in a while, and sorry, I know this is not an Evercade device, but very similar. It takes me back to that feeling of excitement of the carts and putting it in. But I still am feeling some of like the I don't know, downsides, whatever, like a little bit of a disappointing, because like I love what they're doing. I really love that they are having these curated experiences, and I'm so glad they continue, but it still falls down a little bit for me for the actual experience. Like one of the biggest things for me is how a game feels when you slot it into a system. And I noted that on the original Evercade, and I'm going to say the same thing here too, is that it's so cool that you can swap out the carts, but like the actual physical insertion of the cart just doesn't have like a snap to it or an exciting like, ooh, good sweet, I put in a Evercade cart. It feels like plastic that's just kind of, and I know this is a placeholder kind of thing, but even a normal cart just doesn't have like, it doesn't have a click that in 20 years time I'll remember and be like, oh man, that feeling of a click, right?
Right. Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I'm a little bummed by that. Like they captured the nostalgia of having a cart and the games and the curated experiences, but it's missing out on that one little feature that it kind of is a bummer.
Right.
Also, the device itself. I mean, I can't remember. I think the price of these are $70 US. Or at least for the, I mean, this has built-in games. I think they actually have one that doesn't have any like built-in games that maybe comes cheaper.
Oh, really?
Maybe I have that wrong. But yeah, like,
yeah, they're $70. I'm looking at them right now. It's not a bad price, especially because it's an Evercade. You know what I mean? That you can play those cartridges on it.
It's an Evercade, and it essentially like it's like the price of a cart of an Evercade in the device itself. So you're getting whatever. You're not getting a free cart with it, but like the idea of like, oh hey, well I already have games that are coming in it, and I can expand it if I want to, which is exciting. But the actual fit and finish of the device, like I said, kind of makes me think of the original Evercade. Like the buttons, they're a little mushy, like the D-pad, like it's got the kind of these like sharp little, like it's like kind of indents on the D-pad. It's not a full D-pad. It's like a halfway between a circular and a cross in a weird way that I don't love. I would say the other big thing that kind of surprised me was that I was playing it when I got it during the day, and then at night I went to go turn it on and played some more last night, and I was like, oh, the screen's a little bright. I should probably turn this down a little bit. And I was like, I hit the menu button and I go through the screen settings, and I was like, okay, well, there's no brightness thing. Well, there's the volume rocker back here, but maybe there's a key combination to like hold down the menu button and use the volume rocker. I got to be missing something. Okay, well, let me go to the website and look, and sure enough, there actually is no way to adjust the brightness on here.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, which is kind of a weird thing. Like I should reach out to the Blaze rep and kind of ask him why. I mean it's probably a cost consideration, or who knows. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I was just like a little bummed. I was just like, oh, huh.
That's
like
really
the brightness,
crazy.
Yeah, the brightness wasn't horrible, but also like I would like to adjust it. So that was a little weird on that one.
Yeah. I remember I kind of ripped into the EverDrive because they sent me one, or the Evercade, sorry. They sent me an Evercade, and then I reviewed it just as a handheld, and this was kind of early days of my channel, so I think I'd be a lot more refined in kind of my preferences at this point. But I remember not really liking the handheld experience itself, mostly the controls, things like that, and the screen and whatnot. So yeah, I'm kind of curious. I should go and dig that out of the box and give it another try and see if it holds up today. But I'm feeling, yeah, it's going to be like that. I remember at CES, they would have like some booths. It wasn't in, Evercade wasn't there, but they had like some sort of partnership or whatever. And so they would be there. And I remember picking up and be like, okay, this is a Best Buy purchase. This is something you see hanging on a shelf, and you're like, wow, Street Fighter, I can buy that right now, $70, and I can play those games, and it's like, just grab it. It's the same price as like a PS5 game, you know what I mean? And so I could see people just kind of making that purchase right then. And it kind of felt representative of that, where it's just kind of those kind of people who buy it from Best Buy who maybe don't know any better just because they haven't ever researched it, they're probably going to be perfectly fine with it.
Well, I mean, listen, if you're comparing it to that, like that, what was that handheld I picked up at Micro Center? The
R36S.
Yes, yeah. Like, I mean, if I was at Best Buy and I looked between those two, like, yeah, the Evercade is 100% better than that. So, like at least you're not getting a bad device.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just more like it feels like there's a disconnect between the mission and the goal and the curated games experience and the that kind of stuff, and then the actual hardware itself.
Execution, right?
Yeah, that's why. I mean, they're not hyping up the Nexus like to like crazy degrees, but I am hoping the Nexus, like they are kind of talking about it as a little bit more premium of experience, like some refinement and stuff like that. Who knows? I don't have one yet, but hopefully they'll be able to send one over and we can check it out, because like I do think if they could nail both of those things, then holy smokes, especially in a world where PlayStation's like, hey, you know what, we're not gonna print discs anymore, and
we
like,
got your back, right?
Yeah, so like now is the time to capitalize on it. So yeah.
So I honestly, I mean, I believe the words coming out of your mouth, but I also trust but verify. So I Googled it, and yeah, they do not have the ability to adjust the screen brightness. Like, that's a thing on these. That's crazy. Like, I thought
on the Hyper Megatech.
Yeah, on the Hyper
actually,
Megatech,
I think the Evercade you're able to. But I guess I don't remember. I haven't played it, but yeah, like I think there is some verbiage of like, hey, we picked what we think is the best middle ground, or whatever like that. But like, that's hard. Like, I want to be able to adjust it at least a little bit. Like, and it wasn't like I was in the middle of the night just being like, oh wow, this is horrible. But there's definitely a difference between playing it in the day and the night kind of thing. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Fun stuff. And yeah, I want to talk about one more handheld, Russ.
Okay.
Inside this haul that I got from one Steve Lynn, he'd asked me, he's like, hey, is there any other handhelds that you're looking to get for your collection? And I mean, for the most part, I'm covered. Like the Game Gear was one of my last ones that I actually used. I mean, I didn't have one as a kid, but I've used it before. And then the next tier down were kind of handhelds that I have never had, but I'm just curious about. Like things like the Wonder Swan, whatever. Like some of the things he brought, by like the Gizmondo or the Game.com, things like that. But also I was like, yeah, like that's just would be interesting to have in a collection. Not really necessarily. I don't think I'd play it much. But the one that kind of straddles that line for me is the Neo Geo Pocket Color. And so he was like, oh yeah, I totally have a Neo Geo Pocket Color. Not only that, he'd already done the LCD screen mod on it.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's been replaced with a nice backlit LCD screen. Yeah, and it's in I can't remember the colorway, but it's kind of like a bluish, kind of like powdered blue kind of thing. It's not the slim version. It's the actual like original Neo Geo Pocket Color kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have one too.
I have one too. So I have the
if your camera would focus.
Yeah, it's not going to focus. Come on, buddy.
So that one is looks like you shell swapped that one, or did they actually have
No,
that?
this is OG. This
Really?
is like from Japan. Not a long story, but a quick story is, so I was trying to get ready for the Neo Geo CD controller that 8BitDo was working on. They had announced it, and I was like, oh, I have no idea how that's supposed to feel, and I probably want to do a review on it, so let me buy the original controller. So I go on eBay, and I find like a Japanese guy who's like, picking these things and selling them used and stuff. It was expensive. It was like $100 for this controller, right? Because it's so rare. So he sends it over, and it's great. I never made that video, but the guy was like, is there anything else you need? And I was like, all right, game on. And so I said, Neo Geo Pocket Color. I said, this guy's doing Neo Geo stuff. Like, he's selling old cartridges and stuff. Like, he's really into Neo Geo. I was like, how about the Pocket Color? And he's like, I'll get back to you. And then like 3 weeks later, he's like, I went to all these stores, I found all these places, and I got one for you. And he's like, this is what I'm going to charge you for it. And it was like $125 maybe. And it came with a cartridge. And so I've had this thing for years now. I planned on at some point doing like throwback reviews, be like, hey, what is this like today? And I only ever did the Game Boy DMG, and I never did the other guys. But yeah, I've got one. So yeah.
Well, I love translucent plastic, so that is pretty cool.
It's got that nice faded yellow, like.
Yeah, right. I was about to say, I was like, is it
faded.
supposed to kind of look a little yellowish like that, or no?
No, it's that smoker patina on it. Beautiful.
Smoker patina. Ooh, boy, the smell of that you want to talk about. So listen, the thing I'm excited to talk about here is that I had no expectations going into this. Like, of course, I knew what it was. I knew it was a big deal. And there's definitely a lot of people who were in love with this system. But I had never touched one. I had never played a game on this kind of thing. And I mean, to be fair, obviously this is IPS modded, so I'm not playing it on the original screen, which I'm sure is a different experience. Is yours IPS modded or no?
No, mine's original.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, but I fired this thing up, and I do have a cart as well. The Capcom versus SNK match of the Millennium.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And I started playing it, and at first I was like, "What is this thumbstick thing?" It's like this it's like an abomination. It's like the difference between a thumbstick and an eight-way like D-pad kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like it has like clicks, and it's like very cardinal direct. Not cardinal direction. The eight-way, like you can feel
clicky.
it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, this. At first, my first thought was like, this thing is junk. It's horrible.
Right.
And then the more I played with it on this game, this is the only game I have right now, and I was just like, oh. Wow, this is actually really cool.
It's a beloved stick. Like, I've seen people be like, we need this in a retro handheld. It's never really been recreated. It's a smaller version of the one that's on that Neo Geo CD. And
okay.
And so it's like a smaller version of their console like controller. And 8BitDo's controller actually has a similar mechanism. So like they're the ones who could pull it off basically, because they actually got in there and actually made it feel like it. It feels great. It's very like tactile and clicky. It's like it's really hard to describe, isn't it?
It really is.
Like it's like an arcade, but also like a nub, like a 3DS nub kind of thing. It's really kind of interesting.
Like the great thing, especially for handhelds, is that it's low profile and it doesn't have like a lip, so it's definitely pocketable. Like you're not going to grab on it. But like it is rotating in its socket, right?
Yeah.
Like a thumbstick. But it has that click to it. And oh man, like the tension, you want to talk about stick tension. Like I'm not hitting the sides. I'm hitting enough to hit a click, and I can tell that it's triggered, and I'm just like, dang, this thing is awesome. How did I not know about this? How have I not played around with it?
Yeah, it is really good. Like it's like a nice, especially for you, like you like your fidgets, like this is really satisfying.
I know. Yeah. I mean, like the only downside was that I was playing it on the couch, next to my wife, like I usually do, and she was just like, "That thing's loud," and I was like, "Yeah, sorry," but it's actually really cool.
Right.
To the point where I actually wish that the buttons. Now I feel like the buttons are too mushy. Like I actually wish the buttons had more of a tactile click, kind of like the stick.
Buttons, though. Yeah, these buttons are so satisfying. Like they're just dunk dunk dunk. They're light to the touch. They're not loud. I like the feeling of both of them together. Personally.
Yeah, no, I don't know. TLDR, I'm in love with this thing. Like I was just I had no idea I was gonna like this, and especially because I mean the grip in the back like feels like it would be like I mean, it looks unsightly. It doesn't look like that
Yeah.
pretty, but like my hands naturally do kind of fall into the seams in a way that I'm just like, wow, that I don't know if that was intentional, but
Right.
like they
It's so
totally
blocky,
do.
but it works. You know what I mean? That's kind of the
It really
unique thing about
does.
this one. Yeah, yeah. It's really kind of neat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like mine.
So
I wish I had IPS on this. Maybe I'll have to look into modding it or getting someone to mod it. I think I at one point looked into it and I was like, soldering, nope. And so, but because it's really hard to see it because it's not backlit, and so it's like almost playing a Game Boy, and it's kind of rough.
yeah, I can imagine. So like. Yeah, not only is the screen nice too, especially
Look
like
at
yeah,
that.
you go in there. Oh, it looks like my battery died. But also, I was going into the menu. Have
Hmm.
you ever been into the menu, like not loaded into the cart?
Yeah, yeah.
And you
Mine's in
can.
Japanese though.
Oh, it's in Japanese. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's actually a section for a horoscope. Like
Oh,
you put
right.
you put a date in there, and then you
Yeah,
can like have it tell you like today's like horoscope, and it's like that's hilarious on a
right.
device that came out in what 99 I think is what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Late '90s.
like
Yeah.
imagine your Game Boy Color if you launched into it without a game in the cart. It was just like,
Hmm.
hey, do you want your horoscope? Like we'll tell you what the calendar is
Oh, actually, you
saying.
know what? It looks like I went into the settings using like Google Translate and changed it to English. So it is in English. Yeah, you got
Oh,
like
okay.
a calendar, you've got your horoscope, you got an alarm. You can set an alarm on this thing. You want it to wake you up in the morning, I guess.
Uh,
But yeah,
yeah.
like just looking at the screen, like so I don't know if this can pick up, but
Oh
man, it's
God.
like that's how hard it is to see. It's like, the Game Boy Color was like this too,
Right.
It's color, it looks good, but it is really hard to actually see.
Like, and it also got me thinking. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go down an internet rabbit hole and just look into the games and what it costs and stuff.
Hmm.
And then I was like, quickly like, oh no, oh no. Unfortunately,
Especially
the
if you want the
games are
good
so
ones.
expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll grab a flash cart or
Mm.
two. I guess we'll see.
Hmm.
And they have a flash cart, and I don't have the name off the top of my head. But there's flash carts. Oh, do you have it?
I
Which
have
one
it.
is that
Yeah.
one?
It says the Game Drive Retro HQ
Oh,
one. Yeah, so it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
3D
yeah,
printed. Yeah, like it feels 3D printed and stuff. But yeah, it
yeah.
works.
But that one holds more than two games, right?
This holds like 6 or 7 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, like that's the other weird thing, right? It's limited to how many games you can actually put on. So you got to like swap out. You're like, okay, these are the 6 for now, but I got to swap out the other ones if I want to play something else.
Yeah, because there's a cheaper one. Like I said, the name is escaping me. But it
Mm.
only holds two games. And and I'm like, I actually kind of like that idea though. As somebody
Yeah.
who might just want like a to focus on a game or two at the time. The problem
Hmm.
is those things are sold out. All of them are sold out everywhere.
Oh man.
I can't buy any of the flash carts for these.
Oh
I've been
geez.
digging, and even on
Yeah.
eBay and stuff. Like, I mean, they're inflated, whatever. I was looking, but I was
I
just
bought
like,
mine years ago. I mean, we're talking probably 3 years ago, and
yeah. Well, and it looks like
oh
on
man.
Reddit, people are like, oh, hey, why are these flash carts sold out like a number of months ago? And so, like, I'm hoping like it's not a chip shortage problem, or
Mm.
maybe they're not made anymore or something like that. Because I was like, oh no, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
uh,
So I'm looking at it here, like specifically from where I bought it, and there's like no button to even purchase it. But it was 99 pounds, so it was like over $100 for this. Yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, hey, listen, is much cheaper than
Yeah.
buying the actual carts. Or I guess it depends on what you're getting. But yeah, because some of them I'm like, oh wow, that game looks really cool. I have no
Hmm.
idea how it plays. I'm curious. And so yeah, then I looked at the price of the cart and I was just like, oh man, that's so expensive. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
too much.
either way though, like I am surprisingly in love with this device. I had no idea I was gonna love it so much,
Mm.
and yeah, it brought joy to my day. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you to Steve Lynn, patron saint of Expedition Handheld.
I know, right? Yeah.
He's like our
for
muse, basically.
for feeding my addiction.
Right.
I can't remember where I should, that Dave Chappelle, like, scratching
Right.
kind of meme thing.
You
I
got
was
any
just like,
new
yeah.
handhelds?
I'm like, hey Steve, can we meet up, dude? And like we literally met up on the street, and like I walked over to his car, and he like popped open the trunk, and he's got some some
Yeah.
cases with games in them. So anyway,
Right.
yeah, fun stuff. I actually do want to do more with this. So and I would love more game recommendations. So like, please, people get in the chat.
Yeah.
Let us know what I've been missing out on.
Yeah, it's really, unfortunately, it's really hard because of the really good ones. Like King of Fighters R2 is like one of my favorites, and that's the one he sent with me. Like when I bought the thing for whatever I paid for, $150 or something, it came with that in it, And like I was like, oh, I lucked out because that would have been. It's in Japanese, obviously, and it's like so super hard to get through the menus. But just
For
really
a fighting
happy
game,
that
though,
works.
I'd be okay
Right.
with that.
Yeah, who cares, Yeah, really cool little system, and it's got a squarish aspect ratio. So if you ever pick up like an RG Rotate, that is also a great way to play those games too.
Right. Also, he had a cable that connects a Neo Geo Pocket Color to a Dreamcast, and
Really?
I was like, why? And he's like, yeah, there's certain games like for this Match of the Millennium will connect to one of the SNK versus Capcom fighters on the Dreamcast,
Yeah.
and like unlock some stuff. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, but I was just like, what a weird little pairing.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so you know what else we've been missing out on, Russ, is an ad break.
Let's do it.
So let's take a quick ad break and finish up this show. Russ, we're back, and I finished my root beer flavored water in honor of
That sounds
Mr.
delicious. Ugh.
I love Liquid Death, man. It is actually pretty, it's the way I always describe it is, imagine you had a big glass of root beer or whatever other flavor they have full of ice. You drink the root beer, and then you're left with a glass of ice, and then you come back an hour later and all the ice is melted, and then you get to drink it again, and so it's like a hint of what used to be in there, and that's kind of how I describe Liquid Death. Is it?
Yeah.
It's a hint.
My nephew, he's like, it was like for LaCroix or whatever, that other one. He was like, oh, you mean that liquid Febreze? That's how he described it.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
like you're just kind of, it's like an essence of something.
Yeah.
I drink those, I do from time to time. But man, I don't know about root beer flavored. I don't know.
I should have
try it.
asked Mr. Dweeb if he's tried the root beer Liquid Death. Yeah. Also, now every time I say root beer, I keep thinking, am I saying root beer?
Oh, I keep thinking it too.
Oh, dang it. Okay. Anyway, we have some questions that I want to get through, and we still have a pile of it. We'll get to it. Handheld manufacturers, stop releasing handhelds for us to talk
Right.
about.
Please.
And then we'll get to some more questions. I'm going to blame them. No, I'm totally going to blame us. We need to set aside more time. Anyway, we got one in recently from Walbert. Said, this is a question from Russ from his Australian trip. What books are you reading? Are you reading physical books or an often e-reader? They love the XTEINK, Xtink.
XTE Inc. Yeah.
XT Inc. X4. What are your top 3 semi-current books?
Okay. Well, so first of all, I talk about which books I read and my thoughts on them in my newsletter every week. So once I finish a book, I've been putting it in there. So if you want to read like more in-depth details about it, like definitely check out the newsletter, which is just news.retrogamecore.com. And so for what books have I been reading? It's really interesting for me. I've always been a big reader. I'm a slow reader, because I often don't spend too much time reading every day. So it may take me 3 weeks, 1 week to read a book. It depends. For most of my life, I read like great American literature, like I was really into like Faulkner and Hemingway and stuff, and just like challenging novels. Like
We've talked about this, yeah.
Yeah, because like my buddy, one of my closest friends was like an English major. He's an aspiring writer and stuff, and he was always like, check this one out, it'll change your life kind of thing, right? And those books are awesome, and they do kind of change your life, But at some point I was like, screw it. Like I was like, for the longest time I was like, I'm too good for sci-fi and fantasy books, because I read this other stuff, And then I read one, I think it was Ender's Game actually, and I was like, wait a second, what have I been missing
or
here?
movie or
Yeah.
book.
and so then I just like, and so I've been just jumping into the untapped stuff, you know, and there's some amazing books out there and stuff in those genres. And so probably the past 15 years, that's mostly what I've just been reading is that kind of stuff. And so recently, the most recent ones I read, I really also like to read books before they become movies. When they're announced as a movie, I'm like, I'm going to read this first, right? Project Hail Mary or whatever, you know. So I recently read The Dog Stars, which is a new Ridley Scott movie coming out. It's about like a post-apocalyptic, some sort of viral thing, and then the guy's living on his own, and he basically tries to find goodness in the world, you know, in a world where like everyone's trying to kill him. And then I also read Clara and the Sun, which is also a book coming or a movie coming soon from Taika Waititi, and that's about like an android who is basically just kind of like childlike, but also very sophisticated. And so you kind of see everything from her viewpoint. And so it's really kind of interesting. She's basically trying to harness the power of the sun because she incorrectly believes that the sun will heal the human she's in charge of like taking care of. It's a really kind of weird misadventure kind of thing. So those are like most recent books, you know. And I read them on my ebook, like my Kobo e-reader thing. So it's like a Kindle, but without all the ads, basically. And I could just load all my stuff up. And so that's what I read. It's like a one-handed device, really good. The XTE ink that he's talking about is one that's so small it fits on the back of your phone.
Oh, that's that one. I've seen it everywhere. Like pops up on my feeds.
I'm tempted by that one too. Yeah. And so for me, it's very important to have a separation between my books and my like technology, you know. And so the Kobo one I really like because it's backlit and it can go into dark mode, and it also adjusts the temperature of the words based on the time of the day. So it's like perfect for me. It's like in bed at night, you know, put in dark mode and then pull down the brightness, and it's like it's great. You know, I think we've talked about this before, and yeah. So that's really about it. I can't really do physical books just because I don't know. It's hard to like, I always misplace them or whatever else is going on. So the ebook one has just been really awesome for me. So I love that little Kobo.
Nice. Okay. We have another question from Mr. Zag. Have either of you tried Winhanced or on any of your Windows handhelds? Seems like a pretty cool alternative to Xbox mode, but didn't know how reliable it was.
Yeah. You want to start that one? You want me to start it? What do you want to do with that one?
My answer is no. I have not tried it. I've been watching it for sure. I know there's been updates and there's been people on YouTube who have made some videos about it. So I know of it. I've been watching it, but I've not tried it for a couple reasons. I mean, number one, like a project like this, I usually at least want to have some time to bake because like I'm not covering it. It'd be one thing if like you did what was that Isu video that you recently did the newer front end. Like you cover those things. Usually for me, I'm more on the hardware side, so like I don't cover this. I mean, maybe I should cover some of this stuff. Who knows, whatever. But like just for my own personal use, I usually like to let these things kind of cook and see how it plays out and all that kind of stuff, just to see. And also, I've been trying to really live with Xbox mode to see like the changes that they're making and the updates that they're bringing, just so, because I think that's like the thing that Microsoft is really trying to push, right? So like if there's one thing I'm going to be really knowledgeable about is like try to be on that one. So I've been mainlining that one. So, yeah, the other part of it too is that, I mean, it does look cool. I like their mission, but like I have a hard time sometimes when stuff like really digs into making changes to Windows in a way that I'm like I know it's just on a handheld. Like, you know, I'm not installing this on my work machine or anything like that. Right? Yeah. But also like it's doing something that either I don't know what it's doing. Well, not that I think they're doing anything nefarious, or it's doing something that could easily break because, you know, they're trying to force something onto Windows and it's not really made for that kind of thing. So
yeah,
like I don't know, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm up in the bleachers, just kind of like eating popcorn and just waiting from afar just to kind of see how this plays out. What about you? Have you tried it?
Yeah, I'm similar to that, where it's you know, I am a little bit nervous about things that make fundamental changes to Windows, you know, and like they're replacing the Xbox app is like part of what they're doing, and it's not a bad thing, I think as long as it's tight and it works well, and then Windows updates don't break it, like that's like kind of the other factor too, is like the responsibility behind like telling people, oh, just do this on your machine, and so that's kind of one of the things that prevents me from talking about it too much. But the same thing where it's like keeping an eye on it, and I love the concept behind it, and yeah, it's just one of those two. I mean, there's several like that too. There's like AMD's like tuning utility app, or there was like Handheld Companion. Like there's a bunch of other ones specifically for handhelds, which would do more performance tweaks and stuff. And sometimes those were necessary, especially in the like pre-Steam Deck days where things was kind of wild west. It's like, oh, you need this in order to be able to even just unlock the TDP on this thing, because the other software was so bad.
Right.
And so I see this as being kind of a nice replacement for that, for those who are willing to kind of get their hands dirty, go into the forums and kind of troubleshoot and stuff if something goes wrong, and I'm just in my point and where I am is just like a guy who plays games, and as a creator and stuff, I don't know, I'm like a slowly kind of moving back a little bit from that, just because of the overwhelming amount of things that I want to cover for everybody, and sometimes it requires a deeper dive than even I like potentially could have time to justify for. So I just really haven't gotten there yet. It is, again, a thing I'm keeping an eye on because I like the idea of it, but just haven't
for sure.
Jumped in too much yet.
Yeah, because I mean, hey, let's be. I want to be clear on two things. Number one, it's not like the Xbox mode full screen experience thing is good.
It's good.
Yeah, like it is still just like, wait, like, yeah, you've made some updates here, like added sound effects, good for you. But
Yeah.
like, and I mean, I'm still getting updates on that app all the time. Like every time I open it up, it seems like it's, oh, hey, Xbox has an app kind of, or an
Yeah.
update, and I'm like, what did you actually update here? I'm not really seeing all the changes that you really
Right.
need to make. So yeah, I'm not sticking with it because I think it's an amazing experience. It's got a long way to go. I also like I'm not trying to say like, hey, that there's anything nefarious going on here
Right.
at all. But like I said, like with a lot of these things, I don't want to be on the bleeding edge. But I don't know. Yeah. And mostly because like you are signing in with your libraries, right? And it's like, okay, well, I mean, I've got over 1,000 games in my Steam library. I wouldn't want to risk anything,
Yeah.
to happen to that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
think it's a push and
listen,
pull. Yeah.
I signed into Game Native. Like, does that mean Game Native is doing anything either? So,
Right.
like, I'm probably speaking out of both ends here, unfortunately. But yeah, something about this one doesn't. I'm not seeing the payoff yet
Right.
for me
Yeah, I think-
to actually jump through those hoops.
Yeah, for me, fundamentally, what I would really like to see, and I love these projects, right? And I think it's really cool. And for me, it's different than a Linux distribution like Bazite or CachyOS, where they're making the entire operating system. They are tweaking it in their own way, right? Specifically for that hardware, where this is kind of a catch-all, and it's really trying to put lipstick on a pig in a sense, where it's like Windows is its own fundamental thing, and they're trying to kind of corral it into a way that works better for us, and that's a commendable thing. But my take is that if Windows is going to have their own platform, if Intel is going to make their chipset, if AMD is going to make their chipset, they're responsible for tuning that to work with their hardware, and that's the kind of thing where I want to have kind of both, but I'd really like to see some of these enhancements, these things that the community is trying to do, kind of taken on by the people who have the resources to actually make a fundamental change for everybody, And again, it's a philosophical thing, and I think that both camps are like valid, right? Like the people who want to be on this bleeding edge, who want to try this out, who want to kind of push what's possible, really awesome. And then also, I think we should also hold these companies accountable too, to improve their experience and take mind of some of the things that the community is doing too.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, we've seen this before on certain projects, but maybe this thing gets so good and actually does get enough attention that maybe Microsoft's like, hey, can we hire you, or like can we just take your idea and like make it better? I'm not saying steal from them. I just mean like oh wow, these guys are eating our lunch. Like they're doing it better than we are.
I think that the devs would love that, like to inspire a company to do better. You know what I mean? I think that's a valid thing. So
yeah. So good question though. I do have one last question here. I think we should get to before we wrap it up from Captain Mike M. Question for the show: what's in your pocket, you ask? Enough money to buy either a Steam machine or the new MSI Claw. Of course, I know it's not comparing apples to oranges, but I'm intrigued by both, but will only buy one. Both of these I can enjoy on the couch after a long day, but the Claw can be played in any room and come on trips while getting the description next-gen experience. The Steam machine will create a work-life balance by letting me step away from the workspace. I also trust Valve to keep iterating on SteamOS and improve the experience, yada, yada. So here I am at an impasse. What do I buy? I can hear Russ now saying, just get an Odin 3.
That's not my answer. Come on. It's close.
And he also points out, too late for that. That one's already on the way.
That's hilarious.
So this is actually this question got me like, ooh, wow, this is interesting for sure. And we actually do have a follow-up question after this too.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, gosh, it really depends on how important portability is. You know what I mean? If you are going to be going on travel and that kind of thing, then obviously you're not taking your Steam machine with you. And unless you've got like a portable monitor, you hook that thing up, you plug it in underneath your airport seat or your airplane seat, and you're just like going to town. I could see that happening. But yeah, that's the thing, right? Is like it comes down to the portability factor and what's important to you. It's so hard to say because I've been enjoying both experiences so much. Sitting on the couch with the Steam machine has just been really wonderful over the past week and a half. But then that Claw is really great too. You know, if I've just, it's weird because I've got we've got two living rooms in our house. It's kind of weird. We have like a game area, and that's the one you will see in my videos where you've got like that's where the Steam machine and my PlayStation and stuff. That's like me and the kids, right? And then my wife and I, like we've got the other one, which is a different couch. It's like just right around the corner. Like you can see both TVs at once if you wanted. And doesn't have any gaming systems hooked up to it. That's just TV. Like it's just an Apple TV and that's it. And that's purposely very simple, right? And so that's where we watch shows and stuff. What are you laughing about? What's so
I'm
funny?
sorry. It's just like, oh, this poor YouTuber life. He's got
I know.
2 living rooms, 2 TVs, 2 couches. Like, you know, oh man, it's so rough being Russ.
It's mostly because my wife's like, I don't want to see all those dumb consoles, right? I'm like, well, I'm having them, you know, and so we got 2 different sections. And so
Sorry.
It's funny too because they're the exact same TV, like same TV, same brand.
That's nice.
We're just like,
I mean,
you
if
know
it's
what?
a good TV,
This one works. Let's do both. So it's both are the LG C4 and really great OLED screen. Anyway,
sorry.
Yeah. So some nights I'm on the Steam machine in that game room, so to speak, right? And then other nights I walk 10 paces over to the other couch and then I just watch TV and then I've got the MSI Claw, right? 2 different kind of uses. And I've been enjoying both of them. And it really comes down to where you envision yourself. What kind of setup do you have? You know, or do you want to do on the couch, watching TV while doing something or just kind of focusing only on that? Or do you want to have that whole couch playing on the TV kind of thing? And I think that's both. The thing about the MSI Claw and probably one of its big unfortunate things is that it's capped at 35 watts, no matter what, even if you got plugged in and docked and everything else. And to me, that feels like we're leaving a little bit of performance on the table in terms of using it in docked mode. It's great on the screen. Like it's a fit. It's like a perfect fit for that chip for that screen. But if you were to also want to have that Steam machine experience where you can dock that thing and stuff, you'd probably need like an eGPU or something like that.
I mean, which is how I've been using it too. Yeah. Before I get to my thoughts in this, I'm going to read the second part because somebody did a follow-up question. So from I Am Hydrogen said, to add to the question above, if you were in the market for a Steam Deck Plus machine, so planning to drop $2,000 for a handheld and a device for the TV, is there a Windows, not Steam Deck handheld that can fit that use case at any price point? Good enough for handheld at 1080p and then upscale to 4K TV kind of thing. So like, this is a little bit of a curveball into it, but it also got me thinking, like to the earlier question, the Steam machine, the entry level one is, you know, over $1,000, you know, and say worst case scenario, okay, you know what, I'm going to get the controller one, the 2 terabyte version. That's what, 1250, I think is what it starts at.
Yeah, it's like 14.
Oh, 14. Okay. Yeah. And the Claw is $1,800, right? So the other thought I had was, what if you could have your cake and eat it too? Because the Claw is an amazing handheld experience, but we're talking about plugging it into a TV. Like, I actually think like that alone without an eGPU is still a really good 1080p experience. You just have to know that it's kind of scaled back. But no matter what, it's not catching up to the Steam machine.
Yeah.
But what if you got a Steam machine and then you had some sort of other portable system that just streamed it from the Steam machine? So
Yeah.
like that way, that's almost the better of the two worlds, because you get the power under the TV, but then if you want to play handheld, then you get a cheaper device like the Odin 3, and stream to your other couch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the Steam the MSI Claw like is the really good handheld experience, but then you try to plug it in and it can't keep up necessarily power wise with the Steam machine. So
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying I would do that, mostly because I'm in a crowded apartment complex and Wi-Fi is like spotty at best. So I don't always, or no, like my Wi-Fi setup is pretty good, but like I can't rely on it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the better way to say it. And so, yeah, I probably wouldn't personally go for that. But what do you think about that setup? Could you do that at home with your two living rooms? Be like, oh, you know what? I don't need to bring the claw in. I can just bring something small and stream from my Steam machine.
Yeah, I do that pretty often. Like I'll do that on my Odin 3. It's a little small, especially if I'm going to be playing a modern game. So ideally, what I really wanted was the Steam Deck, like to basically be that. Like, and I mentioned in my Steam Machine review where I was like, why doesn't this just work? Like where Steam Link is like, oh, you got a Steam Deck hooked up? All right, let's give you a perfect scale a Steam Deck of that resolution and that aspect ratio. And it doesn't. It gives you 720p at a 16:9. And you can go in and customize the output to be 1280 by 800, but it's just going to make it taller. Like it just stretches your 720p image. So I think that's something that should be just natural, and that was one of my big complaints about the Steam Machine, was that this should be something that's natural. So I could see something like that. The Steam Machine, unfortunately, I guess if you put in Moonlight or you get Sunshine working on the Linux side, you can go into the desktop mode and you get, you could probably get something running, but
oh yeah, yeah. There is a Linux app. That's what I use for my VM. So
yeah, there you go. So that might be an option. There is, like that combination of something would be great, but it would take a little bit of configuration, and of course, it's really going to depend on your Wi-Fi and your home network and stuff too. But yeah,
well, and it doesn't help you if you travel.
Right, exactly.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on the device you get. If it's an Odin 3, like it's still powerful enough to play other games, but not like the MSI Claw. So
yeah,
like. This is, unfortunately, I think this pushes the price up too far because of it. But man, I tell you what, like I still have been just floored by the eGPU experience that I've been having. Like with the Claw, I mean, earlier I was doing it with the Legion Go 2, but unfortunately, Legion Go 2 price has gone up now too. But like if you had gotten a Legion Go, like. I guess that's the other thing. I'd have to sit down and see which handhelds natively support eGPUs, because I like the real knockout of the park would have been like the ROG Ally Non-X or the Xbox ROG Ally Non-X, which continues to hover around like $500. If you could plug an eGPU into that thing, oh my goodness, that would be crazy. But unfortunately, you can't. And unfortunately, also the Xbox Ally X, the bigger brother one, also. Does not work with an eGPU either. It was so weird because or at least this eGPU, somebody had alerted to me, on Discord, or no, it was in the YouTube comments. They were like, "Hey, have you tried it on that? Because like there are people saying that you can't actually get it to work." And sure enough, I couldn't get it to work. It would recognize it as a device, but it wouldn't recognize the actual GPU driver part of it. And I was just like, "What the hell?" That really
so
sucks.
my AO Star doesn't work with the Ally X, but then my XG Mobile, the one made by Asus, that one works fine. So I don't know if they're doing some sort of shenanigans to make it doesn't work, but
it's so stupid. Yeah, I actually need to reach out to Asus for comment and see what's going on with that one, because that one doesn't make sense. So like really, I think that would probably be, if you could find a handheld. Not the Claw, but something like that Xbox Ally X, I still think is around $1,000 right now, something like that. Like that Xbox Ally X has in my mind, the best of both worlds. Is it as good as the the claw? No, in a lot of ways, but it still has a ton of power to just play on its own. But then if you could plug that thing into an eGPU for $2,000, like, to me, that's like right now the best experience. So
yeah. I would say the only other thing that you could really kind of get away with would be a Strix Halo handheld if you wanted to go that route with those guys. They have their own risks, you know. But so I have that Flow Z13 tablet, right? And for a while, I was also plugging that into my TV and just playing right on it because that thing would turbo boost to like 120 watts. And so it was like, so I actually played the majority of Expedition 33, Clair Obscur. I played that one on my Z13 hooked up to a TV, and then also Ghost of Tsushima. So pretty demanding games, and they were both at like 1440p, so not full 4K. But man, that was a good experience for playing them.
Okay, yeah, nice. Fun thought exercise. I really like it. It's not quite a buyer's corner question because it doesn't sound like they're actually. Oh, well, I mean, maybe they will be. Like, follow up and let us know if you are actually going to pull the trigger on one of those. But yeah, it's fun to kind of theory craft out ideas like that.
Totally. Yeah, and it helps me too. Just kind of think about how people outside of my own weird household, my two TVs, like how are other people using them too? So
yeah. I mean, I think like a lot of us that we probably just have a lot of things. It's like oh man, should I play it over there? Should I play it over there? What's the best way?
Sometimes I tell you, like I will. So I've got that Apple TV hooked up, right? And I will sometimes, because you can put Moonlight on that, and so I will stream from my one TV to the other one because I'm like, I like this couch better, you know. And I'm like,
I like this couch better.
I'm like, I want to play Halo, you know, and like I don't want to go over to that other couch because you can't really lay on that one. That's a sitting couch, you know. And I'm like, no, I want to lay back and just kind of hang out with the dog because I don't want to move the dog, you know.
Poor Russ, he's got two couches, you know. He's got two living rooms, two TVs, LG OLEDs, but then one of the couches is just not as good. That's pretty funny. I will say real quick though, before I forget. I have some qualms about your Steam Machine review or whatever hands-on thing.
Oh.
We're not going to get into it,
Okay.
but
You got
I am
bones
so
to
glad.
pick.
No, I'm so glad you brought up the whole Steam Link thing because like Valve. It's so weird how that company works, right? Like I get it. It's like, oh hey, we can work on whatever we want, dude. You want to go over there and work on that? Be excited about it. I kind of like that. But like Steam Link is something. I mean, they had a physical box at some point. This is something they put a lot of effort into, and it still exists in their software, and it can still be used. But yeah, they're letting it sit by the roadside in a way that is just like, why are you not paying more attention to this? Like, I mean, maybe they just don't. I mean, I'm sure somebody is just not that excited about it, or they just don't see the benefit or something like that. But yeah, there's so many times where like me or other people will just be like, why are you not doing more with the Steam Link? Like other people are eating your lunch on this. Like,
it's a real simple concept too. They just need to add a virtual display option, right? Where it just, instead of showing it on your TV and your handheld, just show it on your handheld. You know what I mean? And then that becomes your TV, and then make that a virtual display. There's apps out there that already do it, like Apollo and Artemis, and those are open source apps. And I feel like, I don't know, they could probably come to some sort of understanding and add that to their software. But I'm not an engineer. I don't know how it works.
Yeah. Well, and even something like the NVIDIA Shield, which is still kind of like one of the best, set-top boxes out there. It does have Steam Link. But like it's still that old proprietary protocol, and it's just like, okay, well, you get to play it at 1080p 60, and you're kind of kept at that. And it's like, oh, that's a bummer. So I never use it, unfortunately, and like it would be a nice slam dunk, knock out of the park, home run, whatever sports analogy you want. But anyway, so I'm really glad you brought that. I actually think that you should make a separate video about that. Just like as a standalone piece, because I think
like Steam Link is broken.
Yeah. What the hell, Valve? Like, please fix Steam Link. Anyway, we need to fix the timing on this show because it is going way too long as always. So let's wrap it up. I need to sit down, get some water. Are you an electrolytes guy? Do you like, getting your Gatorade, mix
I'm a
in
water
some
guy.
powder into your water or something?
No, just a water guy.
Just
Yeah.
water. Okay. Good old natural water. Then
Yep.
drink up, you don't want to be cramping on the expedition, anything like that. And yeah, Russ, hey, listen, you said this last time, but are we going to get review of the 1X Player 3?
Yes, I have it right here. I actually I was working on that video, and then that Retroid Pocket Nova came yesterday afternoon. I was like, crap, I got to start all over. And so I'm getting there. That's my next video.
Okay.
No promises, but yeah, that's my next video.
No promises.
And then I've got two others where I feel like I got to get them done in the next week. And so that's going to be that Game Sir little clampy one, and then that GPD box. I've still got their GPD mini PC, which is really interesting. And I kind of talked about it a bit in my Steam Machine review. I got to do a full review of that thing too. So and that comes, like, I've got an eGPU that goes with that one too. So a lot of interesting things to talk about with that one. Probably not a device I would say is going to be good for a general audience, but just a really interesting concept. I like talking about that stuff anyway.
Okay, nice. Well, and yeah, go sign up for your newsletter. What do you say? news.retrogamecore.com.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
And then yeah, I guess we're talking to some guests on the back end. Maybe we'll have a guest in the future that I'm excited about. We gotta bring Mr. Dweeb back to have him on when we're both on as well.
Right. Settle this once for all. It's like, I'm not that dude. So.
Yeah. And then yeah, cool. That's it. I think we should wrap it up. Rest up, charge up, recharge, all that kind of fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next leg of the expedition.